My name is Ver2. I will talk about fostering innovation and creativity. A little bit about me. My background is in mathematics and computer science. I have 25 years experience in analytics. Currently, I'm the principal consultant, data science at Suncorp Group. I describe myself as data science storyteller, practitioner of the art of possibilities, and someone who always prefers to look at things not how they are, but how they can be. You might wonder why I have a picture of flowers as a background on my title slide. Throughout my career, I tended to use mostly the left side of my brain, the logical, analytical side, while the right side of my brain, the creative, innovative side, used to be quite neglected. About 15 years ago, I took up painting, and it quickly became one of my true passions. In fact, very few things make me feel more alive. Painting helps me to truly expand my thinking. Through painting, I learn how to let go of boundaries, restrictions, and limitations. It has had a huge positive impact on my professional career. Hopefully, by the end of this presentation, this will make perfect sense to you. This painting is called A Field of Orange Poppies. I have included a few more in this presentation. During the next 20 minutes, I will attempt to answer the following questions. What is creativity? What is innovation? Can creativity be learned? How to be creative when you are not naturally creative? How to turbocharge your innovative thinking? So let's start with creativity. Creativity is defined as the ability to use imagination or original ideas to create something. People who are creative have the skills that enable them to perceive everything in a new way. They have the intuition and that special insight that enables them to find hidden patterns and to make connections between phenomena that on face value seems totally unrelated. Those skills help them to recognize ideas, alternatives, or possibilities that may not occur to other people. As a consequence, they are likely to come up with original solutions to problems. They are also usually very good at expressing themselves and their ideas. And what is innovation? A typical definition of innovation says that innovation is the creation, development, and implementation of a new or significantly improved product, service, or process that creates value for business, government, or society. Innovation is critical to the advancement of any business and to the advancement of society. Creativity and innovation are closely related, as there is no innovation without creativity. I would not be surprised if many of you were asking yourself, can creativity be learned? The short answer is yes. A study by George Land reveals that we are naturally creative, and as we grow up, we learn to be uncreative. Creativity is a skill that can be developed as long as you participate in activities that utilize the right side of your brain. You can learn to be creative by questioning assumptions and common beliefs, by trying and testing different approaches or techniques, by using your imagination to come up with mental images or stories that are not visible through your senses. Some of you might think, I'm just not a creative person. A lot of us have been in situations when we had the need to come up with some kind of original idea, but despite all our efforts, we just could not come up with anything. I suspect that a lot of you wished at some point that you had some more of those creative genes. But creativity can be learned, and to learn it, one needs to practice. The more you practice, the more creative you will be. The neural networks in our brain change through growth. They create new pathways and make new connections. Remember, our brains have great capacity for adaptation. But those changes can only be achieved via repetition. In this case, cognitive exercises. And remember, creative thinking is not reserved for artists. As Edward de Bono, the author of a great book called How to Have a Beautiful Mind, said, creative thinking is not a talent. It is a skill that can be learned. It empowers people by adding strength to their natural abilities. So what are the kind of things one can engage in to practice their creative side? One of the easiest ways is to start writing a journal. You can write about your day, about your feelings, about your dreams, about your past, or about your future plans. You might choose to write a short poem. It makes no difference what you write. You don't need to follow any particular style. In fact, the more original your writing style, the better. Some people who prefer step-by-step instructions might enjoy taking a creative course. Such courses might range from photography, playing musical instrument, creating videos, dancing, and pottery. Can even be cake decorating or flower arranging. Each of those courses will give the right part of your brain a good workout. If you are the impatient type, then painting is the easiest way to turbocharge your creativity. Just paint whatever comes to your mind. It does not need to represent anything. Start with abstract. You might be surprised where it will take you. Painting has the biggest impact on improving your creative skills when you paint in a freestyle. In other words, when you don't try to copy another painting, but rather you create something of your own. It does not have to be a complicated composition. As I said, the easiest way is to start with abstract. People who are good at creative thinking are good at embracing boredom. Why, you may ask? Because research shows that when you are bored, it is easier to push our brain towards deeper thinking. Our modern lives are surrounded by multiple stimulations. We are busy at work and busy at home. When we have some free time, we are either on our phones, on our computers, or watching TV. Our minds seldom get any time to truly rest. They hardly ever have any chance to wander. An excellent way of giving your mind some breathing room is to practice mindfulness meditation. Another way to create a good space for creative thinking is to sit in your garden and just observe nature. Or go for a walk in the forest. I heard the story of Michelangelo about the time he created David. Apparently for a couple of months he sat in his studio and just stared at a giant piece of marble. At one stage his patrons came to him and said, We were told that you stopped working. And Michelangelo replied, I've been working every day. And he was working. He was coming up with the idea for David by allowing himself to experience an unfocused, wakeful rest. Such state has allowed him to look at that marble and see it in a different way. For all the super busy people who never have any time, the next best option for creative thinking session is when they are tired. So if you have to come up with creative idea, try thinking of it in the evening, best when you are resting before falling asleep. That is because when you are tired, your brain naturally wanders and is more likely to explore possibilities that you would not normally consider. The best environment for creative thinking is soft music or gentle background noise. For example, soft noises in your neighbor's backyard, or an ambient bass in a small cafe. Silence and loud noises should be avoided when one needs to think in a creative way. Silence is best when one needs to focus and pay attention to details. Researchers believe that if you are indoors, then dim lighting provides the best surroundings for creative thinking session. Experts believe that darkness elicits a feeling of being free from constraints and triggers a risky, explorative processing style. The good news is that if you are in a bright environment, then the next best thing is to imagine that you are in the dark. This can trick your brain and achieve a similar effect as if actually you were in a dark room. Some experts believe that it is good to have some green and blue around you when trying to come up with something creative. The other hint is that the most super creative thinkers generate a lot of ideas that they will never actually use. The secret is that if they have heaps of different ideas, they are more likely to have few brilliant ideas among them. So don't be afraid to write down some ridiculous ideas. You never know where your mind will take you and what you might accidentally come up with. It is also important to remember that when it comes to innovation, the difficulty lies not only in developing new ideas, but probably even more in escaping from old ones. I wrote a short article on LinkedIn on the benefits of creative hobby for the non-naturally creative types. It's called Science and Art, a Match Made in Heaven? As I said, taking up an artsy hobby is one of the most effective ways to improve creativity and imagination, and it develops innovative thinking. In addition, psychologists believe that artistic pursuits promote optimism and positive attitudes, which in turn can have a very beneficial impact on one's general mental well-being. So there are many benefits of creative hobby for left-brainers. As you start pursuing a creative hobby, a lot of you will find that the worst enemy to creativity is self-doubt. One of the painters that always inspired me in my moments of self-doubt was Vincent van Gogh, who once said, "If you hear a voice within you say, 'You cannot paint,' then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced." One of the keys to develop the ability to be creative and innovative is to become comfortable with failure. In fact, if something didn't work, then one should not look at this as a failure, but as a lesson. This is how entrepreneurs and designers think of failure. They know that they must make a lot of mistakes to discover new approaches, opportunities, or business models. They look at the whole process as a learning experience. Jack Lemmon once said, "Failure seldom stops you. What stops you is the fear of failure." There are some things that you can do to optimize your brain for innovation. Studies by Clayton Christensen and his researchers uncovered what he calls the innovator's DNA. They have concluded that your ability to generate innovative ideas is not merely a function of the mind, but also a function of 5 key behaviors that optimize your brain for discovery. First is associating, drawing connections between seemingly unrelated questions, problems, or ideas. Second is questioning, asking questions to understand why and how things might be changed, and challenging common wisdom. Third is observing, scrutinizing the behavior of customers, suppliers, and competitors to identify new ways of doing things. Fourth is networking, testing ideas through a diverse network who vary in backgrounds and perspectives. Fifth is experimenting. Visit new places, try new things, seek new information, experiment to learn. So how can you turbocharge your innovative thinking? First, follow your passions. Choose a creative outlet that you will truly enjoy. Obsessively take notes of everything. Develop a habit of writing things down. Become a doodler and a great list maker. Also, learn your mindset is the key. Don't limit your studies to 1 or 2 specialist areas. Gain knowledge about many different subjects. In fact, the more polar opposite, the better. If your expertise is science, then learn more about history, psychology, or linguistics. Learn more about nature. One of the most important habits is to question everything. Highly innovative people constantly question the status quo. They interrogate assumptions. That is how their mind is inspired to consider other possibilities. They ask why or why not. Every time they need to evaluate a problem or come up with a solution, they challenge themselves to see things from various perspectives. Free yourself of constraints. To allow our brain to be creative, we have to let go of boundaries, restrictions, and limitations. To innovate, one needs the ability to think big. Every time you say, "I can't," "I don't," or "I'm not," we are limiting ourselves. Remember that as soon as you believe that something is possible, your mind will find a way. Try to look for patterns and connections in everything. Practice spotting relationships and correlations between everything. Notice small details. Observe people, how they interact, what makes them happy or sad. Investigate how things work. Highly creative people are naturally curious. They try to comprehend how things work, why they work the way they do. By understanding the details, they create a better understanding of how things are connected. I would like to leave you with the first sunset that I ever painted, and with a quote by the great Albert Einstein. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. And remember, creativity can be learned, and it will change the way you think and approach problem solving. I wish you fun in creating.